Good evening, everybody. Once again, we're here to talk about Plagued Moth. As I said in my previous video on April 1st, I wanted to make a video that was sort of digestible about certain aspects regarding Plagued Moth and what he's doing online. And no, that wasn't an April Fool's joke. I am actually going to try to do this. I'm trying to keep the videos under 5 minutes. Here we go. So Plagued Moth has been proven to be lying about threats against his family. How has he been proven? Let's take a look. This is a comment that encapsulates what a lot of people have been saying ever since Plagued Moth started with his bullshit. Kumo Spidey recently commented, "For supposedly being the person putting Moth's house and job at risk, Moth sure likes to endanger his family by constantly interacting with you." Interesting, isn't it? If Moth's family is at risk, if his children are at risk, if he is at risk, if his wife is at risk, why does he brazenly and constantly incite people to dislike him and talk about him and go after him? Now, nobody has gone after him. He has made up every single instance of someone going after him. He says he got swatted. No evidence. He says that people have called his job. No evidence. He says people have had his car towed. No evidence. He says someone is following him in real life. No evidence. He said somebody drove by his house and took pictures. No evidence. There's no evidence to anything this dude says, and every single thing he brings up is more outlandish and unbelievable than the last. However, let's take a trip into Moth's world, or as we call it here in reality, Fantasyland. Let's take a look at Moth's claims and see if they're valid, just on the face of it. So, in the first instance, we have the idea that people are after Plagued Moth, and people are after his family, they're after his house, they're after his job, they're after his car, they're after his cats, they're after his bird, they're after his bearded dragon, they're after everything that he has brought up online himself and put in harm's way. Let's say that people are after all of those things. By constantly inciting attacks against people, by constantly lying, by constantly making drama streams and videos where he gets drunk and talks about people's family, talks about killing people's family, about them dying, when he does this, he is inciting people against him. So if people are actually against his family, and are actually trying to find his family, then him constantly inciting that makes him a bad father, makes him a horrible person. Picture this. You are in an online argument, and the other person says to you, "I'm going to find your family, and I'm going to hurt them." What would you say to that person? Would you say, A, bring it on, bitch? B, here are the names of my family members? Or C, nothing, you'd block them, move on with your life, and not interact with that person again, possibly reporting them to authorities? If you said C, you're a normal person. If you said A or B, you're Plagued Moth. Now, there is an alternate theory that we can work with here. Instead of saying that perhaps Dylan Morgan is right and people are trying to go after him, and he just is a shitty parent and a shitty family member who keeps throwing everybody out like meat shields in front of him, maybe there's another option. Option number 2, none of it happened and he's making it up. If nobody has actually threatened him, and if nobody has called his work, and if nobody has called his house, and nobody has tried to tow his car, and if there's nobody following him around in a trench coat and fedora, then that makes everything a lot simpler, doesn't it? Then you just have Dylan Morgan lying about what's going on. That explains everything. That explains why he's comfortable and feels safe threatening people online, threatening to kill people online, threatening people's family members. This is why he feels comfortable and safe doing everything he does, because he knows nothing has happened to him and nothing will happen to him. And thus, we've proven that it is one of these two options. Either Plagued Moth is a horrible father who is risking the lives of his family over his own ego and wallet, or, other option, Plagued Moth is lying about everything. Those are the only two possible options. Which one do you believe? Now, you may remember on my channel that I posted a YouTube short showing exactly how many times Dylan Morgan has threatened people online by showing just one day of reporting his tweets for violent threats and harassment. Not even a full day, like 30 minutes of going through his Twitter and just reporting anything on the surface level that was a threat or harassment. This is how many times he fucking did that. This is evidence of the fact that he is threatening people and harassing people online. Meanwhile, when he makes claims that people are threatening him, calling his house, doing this, that, and the other thing, he has no evidence to show because it is not happening. All he has is one faked screenshot with an obviously edited username. So, I want you to write in the comments below. Put a 1 if you believe that Plagued Moth is a horrible father and a horrible family member who is putting his family in harm's way for his own ego and for money. Or put 2 if you think there are actually no threats against him and he's not at risk at all. Again, those are your only 2 options, Moth.